Welcome to DeFi Crypto Today. Topic today is ELK Finance. What's ELK Finance? ELK is on multiple networks, including Avalanche, Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, and so on. I'll show you. Now, for me personally, I like to use it to help me transfer tokens from various networks over to Avalanche at a lower cost than the normal bridge that's offered by AVAX at the moment. Avalanche has a very good bridge that works from Ethereum to Avalanche, but only from Ethereum to Avalanche and vice versa. If you don't have a lot of tokens on Ethereum, and you're like me, you like using Polygon or Binance, for instance, and most of your tokens are there, and you'd like to transfer some over to Avalanche instead of using the official bridge and take your funds out of, you would have to go through several bridges. Let's say you're on Polygon. You would have to take the Polygon Ethereum bridge, transfer funds from Polygon to Ethereum, and then from Ethereum to Avalanche. Number one, it takes forever. Number two, it costs an arm and a leg. Transferring from Polygon to Avalanche costs a lot of gas, and again, you need to pay a lot of gas from Ethereum to Avalanche. So unless you're transferring, tens of thousands of dollars worth of tokens, it's not really worth the trouble. And if you have a very large portfolio, you're probably mostly on Ethereum already, and you might just want to transfer from Ethereum to Avalanche. But if you're like me and you like to save fractions of pennies and pay very low gas fee, you're probably using Polygon or Binance or other networks that are cheaper. And you want to stay on the cheap, so you want to keep moving things at the lowest possible gas fees. So that's what we're going to explain here, because ELK Finance has a solution for this, okay? It's in beta, so again, don't risk your entire portfolio on this. Test with small amounts, see what works, and see if it's for you. Maybe you prefer using the traditional, the official bridge from Ethereum to Avalanche that is offered by Avalanche directly. So let's have a look at it. So this is the main page at ELK Finance. They're very ambitious. They have a lot of projects that they're working on and so on. So you can read that for yourself. Let's just focus on what's important. So what's important for us in this video is the bridge. It's called ElkNet. Okay. So you can be on several networks. So we're on ElkNet finally. And ElkNet works across several networks. So you have Avalanche, Fantom, Ruby, xDAI, and Binance. Now, I'm already on Polygon, so that Polygon is to be added to the list, except that when you're on Polygon, well, it's not going to give you the choice to bridge over to Polygon. You're already there. So what we're interested in doing today is bridging from Polygon to Avalanche. Now, we have to, ElkNet has been audited mostly for their farming and so on. The beta, the ElkNet bridge is still in beta. It's not audited at this time. Hopefully it will be. So there are several limitations that we need to be aware of. So let's make this bigger. Okay, so you can only do one transfer at a time, okay? And it only supports transferring the ELK token. If you've got, let's say, DAI tokens and you want to transfer them over to Avalanche, first you need to swap them to ELK, and then you swap them back to DAI. Okay, be aware of that if you want to use this. You can't you can't bridge over DAI to DAI directly. Now, it only supports transfers to your own address, so you need to have your MetaMask set up so that you have Avalanche already set up, and whatever other network you're on, you already set up there. So right now I'm on Matic, and I'm going to switch to Avalanche. Okay, so the first thing, and then next thing is you can transfer only a maximum of 2,000 ELK per transfer, and it takes at least 2 minutes. And there was a bug earlier this week, and it took a few hours. The programming team was aware of it. I went on their Telegram account, and they told us they were aware, and that it would take several hours to fix it. But they did fix it. As you can see below, I made 4 small transfers, mostly for testing. Okay, and they eventually completed. Okay. So, another feature that's interesting is that, let's say this is your first time transferring assets to Avalanche. You need some gas on the Avalanche side to perform any transaction. So it will swap 1 ELK for gas. Okay. So whatever, if you're on Avalanche, it will swap 1 ELK for AVAX tokens that you can be using for gas once you're on the Avalanche side, which is useful because AVAX is a little bit, AVAX compared to Polygon is more expensive. Compared to Ethereum, it's a lot cheaper, obviously. As I keep saying, you know, everything is cheaper and faster than Ethereum, although I love Ethereum. Without Ethereum, we would not be having any DeFi protocols. But, you know, while they're fixing the system and making it faster and better, we have to pay huge fees, and it takes a while. So even the post office is cheaper and faster sometimes than Ethereum. All right, so let's try it and let's experiment and let's do it ourselves here. So I have a little bit of DAI, I think. I should have a little bit of DAI on my Polygon. There it is. So I've got 19 DAI right now. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you step by step everything you need to do if you want to use this. So let's go to the swap, and we're going to select DAI. Now you got several kinds of DAI. We're going to take the regular DAI, and let's do that. And we're going to convert it all to ELK. So you need to type it, ELK. Now be careful, there are 2 ELKs. The red one is the old one, and you want the new ELK. So select the new ELK. And if you've got some old ELK, swap it to new ELK, okay? But it's not going to work very well. So we have to wait a little bit for it to wake up. Finally. Okay, it took a few seconds. So we've got 5.899 ELK that we could be using here. Okay, let's try swapping. Confirm, MetaMask. MetaMask, confirm. Close. Alright, so it's pending. Swap is done. Okay, so now let's go back to ElkNet. And we have some ELK that we want to transfer to Avalanche. So let's swap it over. Again, it's beta. I don't know why the screen goes like this, but you need to refresh the first time. you do it. So we wait again. Let's get Avalanche here. Okay, so we've got the ELK. We click on Max, we selected Avalanche. Now, if this was the first time I would transfer to Avalanche, I would click on swap one ELK for gas. I don't need to, I already have enough enough AVAX tokens for gas right now, so I'm not going to convert it. So let's hit transfer and let's see if it goes through. We need to wait for MetaMask again. Confirm. Okay, as you can see, the transfer has been initiated. Okay, we can see that here. Once it says completed, then we have our ELK tokens on the AVAX network. Okay, and we're back, and we can see it's been completed. Everything went well. So it took a couple minutes, and the transfer to AVAX, to Avalanche, has happened. So let's have a look. So right now we're still on Matic, and it says we have no ELK. So let's transfer back to Avalanche and see what we have. So as you can see, I have 1.25 AVAX tokens that I keep there for paying gas. Okay, to give you an idea of the cost of gas on the Avalanche network, it's comparable to Binance Smart Chain. So you're going to have to pay a few cents, you know, like something in the order of 25 cents, 50 cents, maybe $1 for a transaction. That's what I've experienced so far. Okay, so if you're used to Polygon, where it's a fraction of a cent, well, don't be surprised if your gas is a lot more expensive. But if you're used to Ethereum and you're used to paying $20, $30, $40, $50 in gas, well, you're going to be in heaven. It's a lot cheaper than Ethereum. It's a lot cheaper than Ethereum, but it's a lot more expensive than Polygon. It's right in the middle, in the same range as Binance Smart Chain. So, all right, so if we look at our assets, we have 14.9 ELK. That's because I transferred some other ELK before. So what we're going to do, now that our ELK is on Avalanche, we're going to turn it into DAI, because that's what we wanted to do. So we're going back to swap, and we're going to select DAI. ELK. So right now we've got ELK. Click Max, find DAI, and we get the DAI. And we swap, confirm. And confirm again in MetaMask. So now I'm gonna explain something that happens here. The DAI that we have is the old DAI. There's a new DAI, DAI.e, that you need to use when you want to invest this on, let's say, BENQI. I did a video about BENQI, talking about how to use it and how what I felt about its audit. So check it out. Now let's try to invest we're not going to invest on ELK. I like the ELK Bridge. I think that's the biggest use case for, at this point. Okay, I mean, ELK has several projects. It may become more interesting to me in the future, but I'm not so excited about farming on ELK at the moment. So I already have a little bit of funds invested on BENQI, so I want to add that DAI that I just swapped on my BENQI account. and I'll show you how to do that. And I'll show you what problem happens at this point. It's easy to fix, okay, but I need to show you. So okay, this is the error, okay, old AEB, whatever, bridge tokens detected. You have some tokens from the old Avalanche Ethereum bridge in your wallet. Please convert them to the new tokens to use them in BENQI. Convert them on this. So we have to go to the new and improved bridge here. And now we have some DAI here. Okay, so upgrade your old AEB tokens transfer. So we're going to upgrade the tokens, we're not going to transfer them to Ethereum. Okay, so it's just going to convert the old DAI to DAI.e. The .e means the new improved DAI that works on the new improved Avalanche. Okay, so let's do that. Now, conversion requires 2 transactions. Sure. Upgrade. So we max it, we upgrade, and it's asking us to confirm this. So see, it's costing us 12 cents here, and we're waiting for confirmation. MetaMask is going to confirm, and it's costing us a small amount of AVAX again. And we're waiting for further confirmation. Okay, so now we're adding the DAI.e token, otherwise we're not going to be able to see it on MetaMask, so we add that. And the conversion is successful. At this point we don't need to convert other tokens, so we're happy. We go back to BENQI, and BENQI should stop complaining, so let's refresh, connect, and there we are. So we don't have any AVAX tokens, well, we have AVAX tokens, but I don't want to deposit them, so I go to DAI.e. So these are the tokens you're allowed to deposit on BENQI. So we have this, and we're gonna click max, let's say, and we're gonna deposit 45 tokens. So right now we're getting 2.92% plus a bonus of 5.28. There's currently a promotion on Avalanche with BENQI, so you're getting extra yield when you deposit, and also when you borrow, they give you you have to pay an interest, but they give you a bonus interest that covers that plus adds you extra. So basically they're paying you to borrow. So let's deposit. We confirm. Let's go. And looks like it's done. Okay. So, could we borrow against this? We could do maybe a little bit. Let's have a quick look. So, right now what I did, I wanted to keep my limit in a safe range. Okay, I don't want to be too close to 100%. Once you're at 100%, you get liquidated. So there's a penalty, you lose some money, and so on and so forth, and it wrecks your strategy. So I want to keep it on the conservative side. I keep it at 75%. So my ratio is at 1.3. That's if I use 75%. So that should be all right. So this should be the amount I can borrow to stay at 75%. Let's try that. So as you can see, I have to pay 6.96% right now for whatever I borrow in DAI. And oh, actually, we're going to change that. We're not going to borrow DAI. I'll explain why. And then we're getting a bonus of 11.34% on top. So we're getting about 4-point-something% bonus. It's not bad, but can we do better? So let's try with USDT. Typically, USDT has better rates than DAI, so let's check this out. Oh, yes. So we're paying 8%, but we're getting 20%, so we're getting almost 12% bonus by borrowing USDT.e instead of DAI.e. So how about we do that? So we're getting a little bit more bonus. So let's borrow that. See what it says. Confirm. And confirm. Done, finally. Here we go. Okay, so we're still at 75%, 1.3. Everything looks very good. Now, what else can we do? Now, don't forget, we've just borrowed 20 USDT, and it's just sitting in our account, in our MetaMask. Let's go to USDT.e. We have here the 20 USDT.e that we just borrowed. So, although we can't see them right now, they're sitting in our wallet, not doing anything. So we might as well deposit them. And as you can see, we're going to earn 4.83% plus 12.37%. So it's 17% something on that 20. Okay, so let's do that. This will maximize our return with the same money that we invested. Okay, so we deposit, and again we pay a little bit of gas. So you see, we didn't do that many transactions, but we're paying gas every time we click on something. So make sure you have at least 1 or 2 AVAX tokens at all times in your wallet, just to cover the gas, because it adds up. Okay, so the tokens are deposited, and let's have a look at the overview. So here it shows that now I have 444 DAI.e deposited and 200 USDT deposited, and I borrowed 200. So it's the same 200 that we just redeposited. And what's nice is that we're earning a yield on both sides. Okay, so if we go back, stretch this a bit to see. So we can see here that total we're getting 8.18, so that's a 292 plus 5.26% bonus that we're receiving. And here we're getting 4.33% if we were to borrow DAI, but we're not doing that. So what we did instead, we borrowed USDT, so for a net of 11.39%. So we pay 8.65, we receive bonus 20%, so we're getting a nice 11% on our borrowing. So they're paying us 11% to borrow. Who doesn't want that? That's very nice. And here we have USDT deposited, and total it's 17.17%. We get the regular 4.83 plus 12% added. Now be aware that these rates change constantly. Okay, they were much higher just a few days ago, but now they've got $1.8 billion deposited there and 744 million borrowed. So the more people use the system, the lower the rates are going to be, because essentially the way it works is that they have a certain amount of tokens they want to give away, And if there are less people, well, each people receives more, and if there are more people, each one receives a smaller fraction of the total pool. If we look at the rewards instead, that's what I want. So far, this is just a few days, and I'm not making a big deposit here. So I earn 2.94, almost 3 key tokens. Each key token is worth at the moment 25 cents, so I earn 75 cents there. And I earn 0.0031 AVAX. We're not going to get super rich with this because I didn't invest a lot. I did it mostly to test the system, see if it was worth my while. It's not too bad. We can, we know what we're doing here. Okay, so let's go back a little bit to ELK. I wanted to show you, there's a lot of documentation actually. So we're going to talk about the audits, but we're also going to talk about documentation on if you don't know how to add the Avalanche network to MetaMask. ELK has a lot of documentation. If you're on ELK and you click on, okay, so when we're on ELK, you can click on the guides link, and in the guides we can search for a lot of stuff. The documentation is pretty good, I think. So if we search for Avalanche, okay, it brings us here. You see the happy programmer here. The information you need to get the Avalanche network on your MetaMask. That's what I want to say. Okay, so if you're don't know how to do it, let's have a look here. So you go to MetaMask, you click on the red big ball, go at the bottom, you go to settings, you click on networks, and you click add network, and you put all this lovely information in here and you hit save. That's how you get Avalanche added on MetaMask. Okay, now as I always say in almost all my videos, I like to check audits. So while we're in the guide, we click on audits and we click here, and it brings us here, and they tell us that they audited. So X, that's the auditors, in July they audited the Avalanche, Polygon, Fantom, ELK Smart contracts. They also audited other things, so there's a couple of audits. So if you look at this audit, you can see the report here. It brings you to this page. So the ELK Finance Smart Contracts Audit Report. So you go through all this lovely stuff, and basically what they tell us is that audited contracts are copies of the that's the conclusion. Audited contracts are copies of the Uniswap v2. No high or medium severity issues were found. Okay, so essentially they just took the Uniswap contracts, okay, they barely made any changes, okay, and they put them on ELK. So according to the auditors, they're as safe as the Uniswap contracts. Okay, Uniswap being one of the biggest DeFi protocols in the world, with billions and billions of transactions every day. They figure, okay, well, they use the same contract and they haven't changed anything. It should be as safe as Uniswap. So that's their conclusion. Okay, so if we look at the farm, they have several, right now we're on Avalanche, so these are the farms available, the liquidity pools available on the Avalanche network on ELK. So we got interesting interest rates, obviously, a couple 100% each. Now, there's, okay, they look like, as you can see, it looks very much like Uniswap and all the other copies of Uniswap on every network. What's different here is that they say farming ELK also protects you against impermanent loss. Impermanent loss is when you have, let's say, a pair of tokens, so you got AVAX and you got ELK, okay? And basically, if one value goes down against the other, or one goes up too much against the other, the algorithm, okay, tries to rebalance things. So if, let's say, you put $1,000 worth of tokens, half of them are going to be worth $500. So in this case, you have got AVAX and ELK. So you got about $500 worth of ELK and $500 worth of AVAX. If AVAX doubles, okay, what happens is that the algorithm is going to sell AVAX and buy ELK tokens to reconfigure this and rebalance it, okay? So you're going to say, hey, I'm losing AVAX value and gaining some ELK instead. So that's what they call the impermanent loss, okay? It's a little bit, as they explain in their documentation, it's a little bit like a boat, okay? If you go too much on one side, you might end up having too much water on this and you're going to sink. So it tries to rebalance all the time like this, okay? Now, impermanent loss is been plaguing depositors in liquidity pools since the beginning, okay? And ELK offers a way to protect you against that. So if we click on the link, we end up on the documentation, and they explain a little bit what they're doing. So the pools will be paid extra ELK to make up for the difference. So you're going to receive ELK to, if the price of ELK goes down relative to the partner token, you will receive additional ELK rewards when you unstake, ensuring that you don't walk away with less than your initial deposit and dollar value. This coverage also goes both ways. So if the price of ELK goes up relative to the partner token, you will receive ELK to compensate for the opportunity costs from providing liquidity rather than holding each token separately. So they're trying to help here in case you have impermanent loss in your liquidity pool. They're going to give you additional ELK tokens to compensate for this. So somebody said, but won't that lower the price of ELK? Because we're going to have an oversupply of ELK. So they say, once you unstake, you have a delay of 40, and you have a period of 42 days. So you're going to get, basically what they did is that they created a pool, okay, to cover you for impermanent loss. So they have an impermanent loss protection fund that they created, okay, and the ELK tokens come out of that to pay for any impermanent loss depositors have. And they have a period of 42 days. So if you withdraw your liquidity earlier than 42 days, your permanent loss protection will be prorated based on the number of days you've been in the farm. Also adds a long-term staking incentive. So there's a limit on how much will be paid per day from the insurance fund that is equal to the daily reward rate on the designated farm. So they have a system, okay, you can read all this in detail, to help you reduce the chance of impermanent loss. It's a neat feature. So if you're interested on AVAX, you might consider ELK Finance. Now, ELK is not big at the moment, okay? It's definitely a lot smaller than BENQI. Although, according to the audits, this should be okay. All right. Now, if we compare, these are all the Avalanche pools and the Avalanche protocols at the moment. You can see that BENQI is at the top. They went from nothing essentially to see. There was like very little TVL on Avalanche for a long time, and then starting at August 17, 18, it just showed up to 2 billion something. Okay, and that's mostly because of BENQI here, which has 1.2 billion in TVR according to the system. I don't know why there's a big difference between the TVR here and the TVR on the BENQI protocol itself, but anyway. And then you have other big guys like Trader Joe's, which is new also, but went up quite a bit, and so on. Pangolin, which has been around for a while, and so on and so on. So if we look for ELK is number 16 in the list right now. It's a multi-layer protocol, multi-network protocol, sorry. And it's got only 24 million in TVL at the moment, which, okay, it's a little bit low. Could they rug pull on us? Maybe. So again, if you want to test it, the audit sounds good. Okay, they innovate by showing a prevention, a protection against impermanent loss. And what I find very, very useful myself is the ElkNet Bridge, okay, which helps us save money when gas fees when we bridge funds over. So that's it for ELK. Hopefully you find this interesting. If you like it, please hit like and subscribe. And don't forget, this is my free book. It explains a strategy that's very, very similar to the one I'm using on BENQI at the moment. And if you don't want the free book, you can buy the book on Amazon for $5.99. Okay, hopefully we'll see you soon and have a good time.